Yes, morning, Dr. Chai.
Good morning.
You look very beautiful today.
Oh, thank you.
How have you been lately?
Very good. Yeah.
So what do I mean?
Enjoying my life, enjoying my new working place. Yeah.
Sunway, right?
That's right.
I think before we go to Sunway, I think we have to 15 or 16 years of career, journey that you had. Maybe would you like to share with us, what makes you who you are today, a scientist, a microbiologist? What triggered you to start this journey?
Actually, to be very, very frank, a lot of my family members got so shocked when they know that my first choice is actually to do biotechnology.
Okay.
So after my SDP actually, so I said I wanted to go for biotechnology. That's what I love to do. I want to be a scientist. So when I was very, very young, I was never been the one who is clever or smart or who people may think that, I'll be very good in academic. So I used to draw a lot.
Okay.
So I don't really talk that much. So I only sit down from morning until night so I can just draw on my drawing pad. I wanted to be a painter. I wanted to be an artist, that I want to draw.
Okay. Do you still draw today?
I still draw. So that's why it's a shock, when I switched from art to science.
Okay.
Yeah. So why this happened is because my father actually fall sick. So when I was only 5 years old or 6, he had kidney failure. Since then, I started to realize that life is probably not as perfect. So there's this thing called disease. And I wanted to know what actually is disease, and people actually die, what is death? And can I do something to help or to prevent? Particularly to help my father. So I wanted to contribute. I think that probably I should not draw that much because I started to ask questions my father went to hospital, I always follow.
Okay.
So then I started to see doctors, nurses, and because I was very small, roaming around in the hospital. So those hospital staff treat us very, very nicely. So we chat, so I asked you are a doctor, you are a nurse, so what do you do? So that's what they say, I treat disease, I help patients. So then I asked, can I be like you all? So they said, oh yeah, of course, then you need to study hard. So probably I should study more, study hard. So I wanted to score A in all my exams and things like that. So since then, I slowly moved into the direction that I wanted to be a medical doctor. And that dream, stay until I was Form 3.
Okay.
And one day when I read some articles, so I started to see DNA genetic. So biotechnology is what control our life. And we, as scientists, can actually do something to study about the DNA, and change it. And so to cure disease. So it means that rather than working frontline, you can work in the lab and still treating diseases. And then I said, oh yeah, probably I do not want to be a medical doctor anymore. I want to go behind the scene. So I want to work in the lab. So I wanted to study what causes disease and can I come up with a new cure so that the frontliner, medical doctors, they can use to treat disease.
So has you discovered anything that helps towards your father particularly?
Yeah, so over the time, I realized that this thing called microorganisms.
Okay.
So even in the coffee we drink, in the water you drink, there are living organisms that you just can't see with your naked eyes.
Okay.
And there are the good one, and there are also the bad one that can cause disease in human. And one of the cause of kidney failure is microorganism. It could be a disease-causing microorganism like E. coli. So that's you commonly find in beef. So you can consume and cause it damage your kidney and you have kidney failure. Of course, there are many factors that can lead to kidney failures, but this could be one of the cause. Was mind-blowing. I didn't know that there are so many little things that we can't see with our naked eyes that actually are around us and probably cleverer than human beings. So I just wanted to know more. So that's how I got into food safety. I got into microbiology.
Yeah. I think you have the spirit of wanting to explore, wanting to know what's the thing behind. And obviously, right, you do have a chance to draw, right?
Yeah.
You know, all the DNAs
That's
and all
right.
the tiny microbes and all.
A lot of people say, like, you know, when you do science, you only do science, right? There's no art at all in science. Or when you do art, there's only art and there's no science. I don't believe so. So I do believe, like, you know, you do find science and art blending and merging together. Sometimes it's difficult to separate in your daily life, even in science and in art. So you find art in science and you do find science in art.
Okay. So any unforgettable experience that you had encountered before throughout this, if you were to recall back, you know, 15 years of journey walking down the lab lane?
There's one thing that I still remember, like, you know, up until today is when I first started my PhD study.
Okay.
So I got into the lab so excited. I'm going to have that moment that I will be able to find something. So then the first thing, like, you know, I encounter in my research life is failure. Yeah, I start to understand better what is research.
Okay.
And why we need to spend so much time, so much effort in doing science and research, because you research. So the first thing you learn is failure. Throughout my study life, like, you know, in my primary, secondary, when I wanted to do something, when you have a will, so you work hard, you always get what you want. So I wanted to score A, like, you know, in my BM. Originally, I scored quite badly, so I put in a lot of effort. I planned. So I need to do this, I need to go tuition, I need to read more magazine, I need to read newspapers, so I need to do all this. So I planned, and the next thing I got A. Not so much of experience of failure. So the first thing I learned when I got into my PhD is I fail.
Okay.
I don't get what I want. The worst thing is that I don't understand why I fail.
Yeah,
so
even on lab tests and all, the result can fail, right?
You can fail. I mean, it's always the case. So failure is, like, you know, the fundamental to success. If you want to find something, you need to really do a lot, and you need to experience that really difficult moment of it just doesn't work.
I'm sure it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of determination, and, you know, perseverance to actually be someone like you.
Yes, I still remember. So I was like, you know, because I keep thinking what to change, what else, like, you know, I can work so that I can fine-tune the whole thing. So I went into the lab 7 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So of course at 6 o'clock, woke up, prepared, and then 7 o'clock already I was in the laboratory. So I worked until midnight. 1 o'clock I still cannot get my results. So then I have to go back to sleep, too tired. So I went back to my small room that time, and then I slept. So I dreamed.
Then
continue working.
Still
working out, like, you know, this combination and that combination, which part could have gone wrong. And then the minute I woke up, I was like, did I sleep? I feel like, you know, I've worked non-stop, but I got a resolution. It came out in my dream. Oh yeah, this one I've not tried.
Okay.
So then the first thing, so immediately, like, you know, I woke up, so I don't even change, just simply put up a jacket. So I rushed to the lab and repeat, like, you know, the things that I have done in my dream.
Yeah, I know.
I got the result. I was, like, you know, so happy.
Okay, but of course, like, talking like where you are right now in Sunway, would you like to let us know, like, what do you do in Sunway now? Do you still work in the lab in Sunway? What's your role?
I mean, as an academic, we never leave our research behind. So I still continue working on research, but perhaps, like, you know, my role has changed. So I need to shift some of my focus or emphasis to education, to more onto leadership role.
Okay.
Yeah, so with Sunway right now, so I'm the new Pro Vice Chancellor of Education. So one of my main tasks is actually to look into the quality of education offered by the university. So I will need to, like, work together with my colleague, come up with good programs that will benefit the next generation. What is actually needed by the students so that they can excel and progress, like, you know, in their life. Yeah. So another way to say, like, I put a lot more effort right now, like, you know, in nurturing talents for the country.
I feel very inspired having you here today with us because of the roles that you play, the so-called leadership that you have in leading your own life, you know, as a good role model to many, many people.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't find it the way that I forcefully say I must be a leader. I'm very passionate in the things that I do and always wanted to do beyond and extra. So I always ask, can I do better? Is there something that I can contribute to do better? So rather than asking other, can you create a better ecosystem? So I will do first. When you put in a lot of effort, like, people recognize you. And I think naturally, you just being recognized and being trusted as a leader.
So like, how do you keep fit? Is also one very important thing that I want to know from you. How do you maintain, that perfect mental health and also body and all?
Yeah. I mean, when people talk about mental health, like, people ask me, like, are you stressed? Like, of course I do. I'm human, right? I'm a human being, so I do feel stressed a lot of time. So how I manage and de-stress is like by doing all these, like, drawing and things like that. And sometimes tell myself, like, just give myself some space so that I can just leave that thing alone. So for a while, only after that I go back to it. So another thing that I find very, very helpful to me is the recent practice that I started to do. So especially when I age, right? So I find that I need to exercise. Every week, I will find at least 3-4 days I will actually spend some time, like, in the gym room or, like, on the track jogging.
Okay.
So I need to sweat out, and after sweating, I feel like it's very, very relaxing. Yeah. So that's also one of the way, like, I find that it's really, really very helpful. You just find that you can eat a little bit more and not gain weight. I think that's one thing to remove from the stress factor, is that when you stand on your scale, you see, 1 more kg extra.
True.
So you just remove that one.
It seems that, very, very true. Diet, lifestyle, and also exercise, all these 3 combined, you'll have that balanced health and all.
That's right.
But how do you see people today facing computers all the time, like a sedentary lifestyle? They have all the technology to actually help them, aid them in life. Any good advice to people around?
There's one thing I always say, like, we can't avoid from technology nowadays. Even people talk about AI nowadays, like, in university, we start to discuss. It's very dangerous to depend on AI. Students probably not learning. So when exams, they can, whatever assignment you give, like, they can just use AI to generate answer, right?
Yeah, quickly.
So should we stop our students from using AI and ChatGPT or whatsoever? I said, of course, no. You can't avoid from technology, but we need to live together with the technology, leverage the technology, but mitigate the risk. So even in this lifestyle, right, we can't run away from depending and using computers. Leverage on the technology. Like myself, I have this watch that will connect and tell me it's time to move right now.
Okay.
So it's the self-awareness that you need to know that this lifestyle, by just sitting around not moving, is going to cause a lot of harm to your body. So that awareness need to be there. And use technology to help you, remind you, it's time to drink. It's time to move. It's time to do exercise. So what is the calorie burn today? So you need to spend some time, squeeze some of the time, like, probably I need to
balance
exercise
out everything.
10 minutes. Yeah. So just get my heartbeat up, do a little bit of movement and things like that. That would be good, yeah.
Totally agree. But does this kind of behavior happens to our newer generation today? Because in some way, you kind of lead this education and to nurture the next generation, right? But what you were saying is happening to you, to be exact. But how about our new generation today? Do they possess this kind of attitudes and behavior to have this well-struck balance?
There's one thing we talk about education. It's not just about scoring A. It's not about knowing the subject. It's not just about knowledge and skills, but it's also about mindset value. So what is the mindset? So what is the value that we want to nurture in our next generation? That needs to come in to the whole package of education that we call holistic education. So you shape your graduate, so from everything. So by giving them the exact knowledge, skills required, and also shape their mindset, shape their value, what is required for the future workforce. So that's something like, AI come in, so we need them to leverage, learn the ethical use, integrity use of AI. So that's the part that needs to go in. So not just to use, but how to use it correctly.
Do you see the younger generation today lack of certain things that need to be enforced? For example, could they be, lacking of this human touch or lack of creativity because too dependent on tech and all? How do you see? What is lacking in our newer generation today?
I don't really think that our new generation lack of something, but they are just a very different generation that we may not understand fully how they work. So they do have a lot of things that we do not possess. For example, like, you give handphone to a 3-year-old, immediately he or she already can tell you, so you can use this, you can operate this. That's something that you have used for 3 years, you never know. You never been able to explore. True. So there's something like, they are very, very tech savvy. So the way they process information is totally different. The way they communicate is totally different. We may not agree with the style of they doing the communication, but that's the world going to be. So perhaps we are the one need to adapt to the new generation. So we need to understand and guide, but not to really change and tell them that you are wrong, so you need to do this way, which is our way, our old way. So we just need to guide them, probably not the word lack, but something that you need to add in so that you can value add for the whole thing. So that's our new generation needed. A lot of encouragement and positive mindset to be put in.
Correct. And like what you say, it is so true that instead of wanting them to be like us, it should be we adapting to their way of doing, their way of behaving, because the communication has to be there.
That's right.
Otherwise, it will be, separate things moving forward.
Yeah, that's why we say, like, we cannot continue living in the 30 years ago. Like, we need to move forward. And the world is moving very, very fast with all this AI technology come in. So perhaps, like, before that, you feel like the growth is like this, a bit flat. And nowadays with all the AI, so we are expecting the world to grow this way, exponential. So yeah, so it could be a little bit difficult for
in
us.
A way, in a way, humans that know AI will somehow replace those who don't.
That's right.
So that is so important for you to incorporate that, to have that skill and all.
That's right. Yeah.
So
how to leverage on technology is very, very
so any dream or anything that you uphold that you hope to see in your next few years to go?
There are so many things that I wanted to do. So at the moment, what I wanted to do is that I really wanted to contribute to the whole country. So in terms of the scientific and research ecosystems, it used to be the case that academic work, whatever matter that matter to us, and then industry work their own way. So right now I wanted to push all these different parties, stakeholders to come together. So public-private collaboration, industry, academic, government collaboration. So we need to work as a whole and to push Malaysia to the next stage, or else we continue to stay here. Then we say within Southeast Asia, Malaysia is good, but are we moving? So we start to see a lot of countries started to overtake. So I think that's my dream, like all of us to do something collectively and then come together and build the country, the nation. So we do have a lot of good local industry that is waiting for opportunity and more support, like mechanisms for them to grow. So that's something that we see still lacking, and we need to continue to work on.
Okay. Sounds interesting and very, very big dream and ambitious. Definitely a good hope for Malaysia. To have people like Dr. Chai and your team of expertise that is going to help further science in Malaysia, the expansion and beyond.
Yeah, thank you so much. I do think it's the collective leadership, collective effort, like each of us do our part, do the small part, then we will continue to move.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.